All right, everybody, we're going to wait just a minute. We'll let everybody get in here. How's everybody doing? Been live here today. We'll have everybody chime in here in just a few minutes on where you're coming in from around the country and stuff. So very excited about today's event. You're going to learn a ton about multifamily. It's going to blow your mind on what we're going to show you. You haven't really seen this type of stuff before, really from an end-to-end platform and idea for you if you're looking to get into it. So we'll get going in just a minute. Awesome. All right, everybody, we are live. One second, we'll wait just another minute here. Chime on in from where you're coming in from. Just type your city, where you're located at, anywhere in the country or internationally for that matter. And we'll get everything going here in just a minute. So, all right. Yeah, looks like we have some folks. You're chatting in the chat right now. We got Midwest, New York, Florida. Love it. And if you can get into the chat on the right-hand side, because we're going to have some questions and some polls going in there for you to be able to ask some questions as we kind of go through this stuff for you today. So, perfect. How's everybody doing? At least give me a thumbs up if you're in the chat. I don't know if you're on your phone or if you're on a desktop, but there should be a little button there. Love to know where everybody's chiming in from. All right, we have a West Coaster, LA. Like Las Vegas, thumbs up. New Jersey, love it. Beautiful. New York, we got Vegas, I love it. Texas, beautiful. Awesome. Can everybody hear me okay before we get started? Just a little thumbs up to let me know. And then Kevin, I know you're in here helping moderate the chat. So if you're chatting in there asking questions, Kevin is going to help with that moderation, and we'll be doing it live. I'll probably bring him up on screen for some of those questions and stuff as we get going. So beautiful. Awesome, everybody. So is everybody excited to learn about how you can buy an apartment building in the next 90 days if you would like to? I'm going to put a poll up real quick because I'd like to get an idea of the audience as to who owns current stuff and what kind of roadblocks you're having. I'm going to publish this right now. I'd like to know where everybody's at, right? And it's in the chat in the poll section if you can see this. Have you flipped homes, wholesale? Do you deal with single family rentals, multifamily 5 units? Okay, we have some people that own some of the 5 unit stuff. Love it. No experience whatsoever. I love that too. Beautiful. W-2 income earners. We got some flippers in here. Beautiful. Love it. Wholesalers, not yet. Okay, so a lot of flippers. Perfect. And then no experience at all, which I love. Well, you're going to get experience today. All right, we're going to unload this thing on you and give you a lot of resources, value, and tools that you can use if you'd like to get started in multifamily investing here in the next 90 days. So, beautiful. Single family and 5 units. Love it. Great. Perfect. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started for you. Does anybody remember this time? Depending on how old you are and where you're chiming in from, love to know in the chat, does anybody remember 2008? This is a pretty important year. The financial crisis, as everybody remembers, it had a major impact, obviously, on the United States. If you were right in the midst of it, if you lost homes, type 1 in the chat. 1 in the chat if you lost a house, if you lost a job, if you had a family issue, divorce, any kind of chaos that happened in beautiful 2008. Type 1 in the chat right now. Yeah, pretty much everybody. Makes sense. It makes sense, right? This is a really, really important year. Yeah, Antonio, you were in high school. I love that. Yeah, I wasn't savvy enough to understand the situation. I get it. And if you were younger, a lot of people, you kind of at that precipice of whether or not it affected you directly or indirectly through family. But 2008, major year. So I want to share with you a little bit of a story, because I think this is important that can maybe relate to you as to maybe where you're at, where you've been at, and maybe where you're trying to go. and kind of walk you through literally a starting point of being broke, having, looking up going, oh my gosh, you had it, and then you drop to the floor, and now you got to build it again, okay? So a little bit of my story. 2002 to 2005, I was a title rep in the title insurance industry. Came out of college, went right into title insurance. I didn't want to go to like family and people I know and say, hey, where's my job? Can you help me with my job? I need a job. I want to work for family. I wanted to go like make it on my own and make it. That way I'd have confidence to then go off into the world. So title insurance as a title rep in 2002 through 2005. Okay, great time to be in it. Then I decided to go back to graduate school in 2005 to 2007 in San Diego and get my MBA and my master's in real estate development. It was just something that I had a vision for and I really wanted, and I went and I got it done. Then fast forward, I came out of grad school 2007, 2008, like right before the financial crisis, and I did work with family at that time. And then you jump right into 2008, and as we all know, you had the collapse, right? You had the collapse. And that led me to becoming an asset manager for a lot of the major banks. Because you're either on the positive or the negative side of real estate, okay? And at that time, everything was collapsing, so you're either doing the positive side, which was gone, which was development, construction, everything that I was doing at that time, or you get into the negative side, which was, hey, you got to go work for the banks. So I ended up becoming an asset manager for the banks, the evil banks, doing foreclosures and short sales for them around the country, about 2 years. So I was the guy behind the scenes in the computers, hiring all the realtors, the foreclosure agents, right? And going out and doing and managing all these houses, hundreds of assets at a time around the country. East Coast, West Coast, all over the place. We were dealing with Chase, EMC, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Countrywide, all the major banks. I was one of the asset managers behind the scenes, right? You learn through that process really just how irrational the banks are and were, and even are today. So there were some stories written that came up during that time about my dad, because, I think it's important if you've had parents, depending on how you grew up, what you learned, how it affected you. Great dad, pretty good upbringing, middle-class family, 2 parents. Obviously, they divorced when I was 8, but had a great father who kind of was the transitional character in our family. They went from 0 to hero. He had a crappy upbringing, right? His dad beat the crap out of him. And he came up through this process of going 0 to hero, became a self-made millionaire. And I watched this happen, but I also watched the 2008 collapse bring him to his knees. He lost everything. Like we as a family, he lost everything. I had to watch that happen, and it's pretty devastating. It's pretty devastating. I don't know if any of you had anything similar at all, whether on a smaller or bigger scale. Chime in the chat one if you had anything like this. Like you said, losing houses, losing everything, watching people get destroyed, families, divorces. On and on and on. I'd be curious. There's been a lot of people that looks like they were affected in it. So there were stories written on Yahoo Finance, AP, on and on about how this family BK became kind of a big deal, at least locally, and then they kept it. My dad tried to keep it under the wraps a lot, but it affected our family. So now you got your butt kicked, you're down, and you have 2 choices. You either get paralyzed by it, and you say, okay, well, this is what it's going to be, or you get up, you dust yourself off, and you get going again. And so that's eventually what ended up happening. Okay? So does anybody know who Tom Ferry is? If you're in real estate, if you've been around real estate, does anybody know who Tom Ferry is? Type 1 in the chat if you know who Tom Ferry is. Yep, we got 1. Perfect. Okay. So this is the secret. This is the secret I'm telling you today. So I'm sitting at a Tom Ferry conference. I'm probably like this guy out here. Okay, literally. Can't see me. 4,000 or 5,000 realtors. This is Anaheim, California, 2008. Everything's collapsing. He comes out on stage. He rah-rahs everybody out. Okay, and everybody's excited. He comes out and says, okay, who here in the audience wants to own rental income property? And of course, all the realtors' hands, they go up and everybody's screaming and ranting and raving. Yeah, like we want to own rental income property. And he's like, great. Who here financially right now could buy rental income property? And all of a sudden, all the hands go down, right? Crickets. 95%, because everybody's getting clobbered. And he says, guys, here's the secret you're all missing. He says, I'm here amongst a bunch of realtors and real estate professionals. He says, you don't need to have a single dime to own rental income property. He says, you just need to have a friend who can buy rental income property. He says, you have a license. You can go find deals. You can analyze them. You can put them together. You can raise money. You can manage them. You can close escrow. You can run the operations. You are an enormous value if you have the knowledge to somebody who has money. Because you got to remember, when you get into multifamily, because you're all considering doing this, you bring one of two things to the table. You either bring the money and the capital, or you bring immense knowledge and operational ability. One of the two, if you're able to do both, you're like a unicorn. But you're going to bring one or the other. So if you don't have the money, and you're watching this, if you don't have the money, then you need to get extremely knowledgeable. You need to be mentored, teached, coached. You have to have the knowledge, and you have to know how to execute. Because if you have that, your skill set is extremely valuable to somebody with money. Remember, your net worth and the income you make is literally equivalent to the problems you solve. So think about that for a minute. If you have all the knowledge and you can go execute this, you can execute. You solve a major problem for somebody with money who wants to get into real estate but doesn't have the knowledge. Okay? So now you're bringing the knowledge to the table to somebody who has money. You're solving a big problem. Therefore, you make a lot of money. Okay? So keep that in mind. So he teaches me a very valuable lesson. He says, you don't need to have a single dime. You just need to have a friend that has money buying rental income property. Light bulb goes off. I'm sitting there in the audience going, holy crap, that makes sense. Who do I know who's not in real estate, who would like to be in real estate, who we've had conversations in the past about real estate that I can go to and who has capital and could sign on our first loans, could help with the down payment, and I can just go find the deals, analyze them, put them together, run the operations, be the sweat equity, and bring that to the table, and he has money. See where I'm going with it? So here we go. Christopher Poley. I go to him and I say, Chris, everybody's getting our butt kicked. I can't do this, but I need your help. I can go find the deals. I can put everything together. I can run the operations. I can do everything. I just need you to put the down payment in and sign on the loan, and here we go. And that's how our company, Brennan Poley Group, was founded in 2009. So in 2010, timeline-wise, first property, $100,000 condo, okay? Nothing sexy. $100,000 condo. Does that look sexy? No. It's a $100,000 condo. One property, $100,000. We put in $25,000, okay? Got a $75,000 loan, of which Chris brought in all of that. I found the deal, I underwrote it, I put it together, I made everything happen for that 50-50 split. 50-50 split. And that's how we started the company. Now, fast forward, that's 2010. 2018, we had amassed about 20 units. Okay? Little 2 to 4 unit properties, a couple duplexes, fourplexes, all that stuff, triplexes around San Diego, California. Listen, we thought we'd made it. We had $3.5 million of assets. We're like, this is great. It's most of our own money. We're controlling it. We didn't have to use investors, blah, blah, blah. We thought that was the way to go. And we had figured it out. We were wrong. And let me explain why. So we go 20 units in 2018, okay? But then I go to a syndication conference out in Boston, Massachusetts, okay? Out in Boston, Massachusetts. And run into a handful of people that are doing this stuff around the country. Because I'm sitting there going, Justin, we are way too smart. We know how to do this. We have the knowledge now. We don't have a ton of money, but we have the knowledge. And I'm watching people do this, and I'm sitting there getting frustrated going, we can do this and we can do it better. So I need to learn this thing, this beautiful thing called OPM, other people's money. And how do you leverage that correctly to scale? Because if you're sitting here and your biggest concern is, well, yeah, Justin, I can find deals, I can analyze them, but I'm scared about raising money. I'm scared about using other people's money. I don't know how to do it. I get it. I was right there too. I get it. But you need to understand this. You have to learn how to raise money. For any business, for anything you do, for the remainder of your human life, you have to learn this process, okay? So it's very, very, very important because that is how you get rich. That is how you help other people get rich, and by helping others, law of reciprocity comes along with you too. So 2018, 20 units, $3.5 million. We learned the syndication business. Fast forward, today, 550 plus units, over $155 million in assets spread around 5 to 7 states in the United States. Okay? Within around a 4-year window. And that's where we're at today. Okay? Very, very, very important. Let me keep walking you through here because we're going to get to the nuts and bolts here in just a second, but I need to walk you through the history and why it's important because you may be right in that position where you're at and we can help you get to where you want to go. So the BHAG, okay, it's not 557 units. Our BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal, by the way. Does anybody know what the BHAG is? You do now. If anybody have a BHAG, I'm curious. If you have a big, hairy, audacious goal, chime into the chat. What is your goal? Is it 20 units? Is it 100 units? Is it 1,000? Is it 5,000? Is it maybe just watching this webinar? But I'm curious. Chime in the chat. What is your goal? I want to know. I want to know what your goal is because that's really, really, really critical as to where you're at, where you want to go. Juan chimes in 10 units. Beautiful. Love it. We can get you there in like 90 days or less, man. No problem. 20 units. Noel. Love it. Keep going. Keep them coming. Todd had asked, I think in the chat, echo. Anybody else hearing an echo? Curious. Is the sound okay? No echo? No echo? So it may just be you, Tom. Not sure about that. 100 units. Love it. Listen, I want you all to think big. So I want you to take that 10 and 20 units and I want you to 10x it. 10x it. Because I'm going to show you the beauty of OPM and leveraging your capital with other people's capital and how you can go to the stars and the moon and beyond. And we're going to do that here today. So our BHAG is 10,000 units and $1 billion in assets. Okay, so right now we're in California, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Missouri, and then we're going into Florida right now. But we love these other states too. And we consider a lot of other ones, but these are the ones that we're targeting in on. Okay? Beautiful. So now you know my big, hairy, audacious goal. And you have to understand you don't get there alone. You don't get there alone. And so partnerships are how you get there, especially in multifamily. You have to collaborate and utilize your money with other people's money and everything together and everybody's, I guess, best attributes to grow and scale and do great things. Okay? Has anybody seen this before? Because this isn't just a real estate thing today. I think this is really important because if you're driven by money and money alone, money's a great motivator. It'll get you to a certain place. But once you've made some money, it's not going to keep you motivated getting out of bed every day. It won't do that. It'll get you to a certain place and then you're going to feel unfulfilled. And the reason you're feeling unfulfilled is because usually, okay, you're not aligned with one of these 7 mountains. So, these are the 7 mountains that move a nation and inspire people. And the key point is this. Sports and culture, family, media, government, business, education, and religion. Okay? Chime in to the chat which one of these or a combination of them. I want you to pick 3. Pick 3 or 4. 3 or 4 of these. Sports and culture, family, media, government, business, education, and religion resonate most with you. This is really important. Really important because this is going to help you get out of bed every morning, keep you motivated, keep you driven, keep you passionate every single day beyond the money. Family, business, and media, love it. Family, business, and education, love it. So let me share with you mine. Because I went down to a conference not too long ago with Patrick Bet-David. I don't even know if you know who he is. Doesn't matter. But this was a really great exercise that I had to do for myself in learning this. So for me, I had to realize, okay, like what are the 3 or 4 that are most passionate for me? Because that's going to help drive you every day. You have to have a successful business, which we do. Multifamily apartments, and obviously the education and helping other people do what we do. Okay? You have to have a successful business. And you can leverage that and scale that and grow what you're doing through media. Okay, through media. Whether that's online, social media, podcasting, you name it, TV, stages, you name it, media. So its passion is business, media, family, education. With family, that also includes philanthropy, okay? Philanthropy, giving back, helping others, leaving a legacy. It's really important because most people feel most fulfilled when they're helping others, right? Freely you give, freely you receive. I went to Pepperdine University. I was blessed enough to go there. And the tagline at the top of the sign when you go into the college is freely you give, freely you receive. And I have focused on that my entire life. It's literally burnt into my brain as I'm giving it to you today. Okay? But Family is philanthropy. So it's not only, I'm a dad. I got 2 beautiful kids, incredible, but also it's giving back. So I'm really passionate because my whole family comes from military. My grandfather was a commander in the submarines, right? In Hawaii and then San Diego during the Korean War and so on and so forth. So big Navy commander in the submarines. My dad was Army, went to Vietnam, had a very interesting experience in Vietnam. My business partner currently, Christopher Poley, is a former Marine. So we have a lot of military background. Obviously, I'm in San Diego, so we're like one of the most prominent military spots for the United States. So we get back to Tunnels to Towers. I don't know if you know what that organization is. It started after 9/11. Super passionate, helps pay off the mortgages of spouses left behind with kids based on first responders or soldiers at war. So if there's a spouse, typically a wife and her kids, that's left behind by the parent or the spouse that dies in the line of duty, this company comes in, they pay off the mortgage, they give them a free and clear house to give them stability. So we back them huge. Like, that's a huge passion for me. SEAL Future Foundation. This transitions Navy SEALs from team life into civilian life. Helps save their lives. 22 Navy SEALs, from my understanding, commit suicide every day. Did you know that? So that's very passionate for me. And then you get into the family, obviously parents, family. So this kind of family and education thing and helping others, which is why we created Multifamily Schooled, which is our education platform. So you got education, family, business, and media. So those are my 4. So it's really important you identify for yourself today and do this exercise because it's going to help push you. Been fortunate enough, thankfully, through this kind of journey that I've been going on the last few years is to meet some incredible people. I don't know if you know who Brandon Turner is, obviously the amazing Ryan Panetta, so on and so forth. Apartment Rockstar, Robert Martinez, Mr. Grant Cardone, Jeff Fenster is a good buddy of mine here in San Diego, incredible guy. But follow these people. I've been fortunate enough, it's not about dropping names, it's just to kind of show I've been having this chance to meet all these incredible people that I'm learning from. So, now, let's get into the nuts and bolts. I think this is really important. I love all the stuff people are chiming in about. Family, business, media, education. Love it. Media and sports. Education, family, media. Yeah, it all makes sense because you know what I notice in all of those? Family. Family. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have people around you, if you're not experiencing things with people, what good is all the other stuff, right? What good is the money and the media and the fame and the fortune and all those other things if you don't have family, friends, people that love you and you can love back? So here we go. So that was kind of like an important piece because now you're going to get to what's going to drive you every day. How to buy apartments. I'm going to ask a question real quick in the polls. I'm going to close that one. That was a good one. And I'm going to put in here greatest roadblock for you. Chime in the poll right now. Which one of these is the greatest roadblock for you? How to finance. I know it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. It usually always is. Yep. I mean, like everybody's like flocking to it, which I'm not surprised. Okay. Finance, raise money, structure the deals. Okay, how to analyze. Love it. Yep. This is great. All pretty typical. All pretty typical. And you know what the funniest thing about all of this that I'm noticing, and it's pretty normal. Number 4 on there, how to close the escrow properly. Since you may or may not have been through that process yet, that hands down is probably the most important one, despite the other ones, because the other ones are actually quite easy when you understand how to execute on them, which we're going to go through today. Okay? We're going to go through today. Now, I may not be able to focus on all 5 today, but I'm going to get through the most important ones that everybody put up here. And then that way, if you want more information, we can get to that afterwards. So, but beautiful. So definitely finance, raising money, structuring deals. Second one is how do you analyze them? Love it. So that's what we're going to focus for the rest of today. Beautiful. So these are the 5 pillars to buying an apartment building. I don't care whether it's a 2-unit deal or whether it's a 100-unit deal. Doesn't matter. 2 or 100 units, it's going to follow the same 5-pillar method that we teach. You have to know how to find the deals, analyze them properly, raise the money, close the escrow, and manage them once you own the property, and do this correctly. Critically important. Okay, beautiful. All right. Here's a fun little exercise, because I got taught this by Andrew Cannoli about a year ago, and I was watching him on stage. It was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in a long time. And he says, he comes out, and he has like 3,000 people in the audience, and he says, look, does anybody know what money is? So I want you to chime in the chat real quick. What is money to you? Is it freedom? Is it this? Is it that? Is it? Tell me what you think money is. And you're probably not going to get this right, so it's okay. Money's everything. I love it. Money's everything. It is. I used to think money is choices, and it is. So money equals choices. So to me, money is choices. Meaning, if I have $1 million, I have a million choices. If I have no money, I have the exact same amount of choices as you if you have no money. So we're equal. But if I have $1 million more than you, then I have a million more choices than you. Meaning, do I go spend it with family and have trips and then get back and help others? That's a choice. Or do I go to nightclubs and put it up my nose and have parties and all those other things? Those are bad choices. So good choices, bad choices. But they're choices. Money equals choices. The more money you have, the more choices you have to do things. But that's not the answer. It's not the answer. Money is a game. Money is a game. And once I was explained this, it was like a holy cow moment. Okay? So the United States economy, as you know it today, is made up of creators and contributors. Creators and contributors. So I'm going to close that. I want to ask you guys a question. And I think we only had a few W income earners, but creators and contributors. Creators create products and services that go into the marketplace that then contributors buy, right? And then the money goes from the pocketbooks of the contributors back to the creators. Right? So this is why, if you're watching this and you have a job or you're working for somebody and you've been paying a lot of taxes and you're frustrated and you're working for the man and you think the government stinks and all this other stuff, that's how you feel, you're likely a contributor. If you have a W-2 job, if you're an employee working for somebody getting a W-2, you're a contributor. If you're a creator, you're a 1099, you're a business owner. You're creating products and services into the marketplace that then get consumed by contributors, and the money literally comes from this pocket over to this pocket. Creators create, contributors consume. The money leaves the pocketbooks here, and it transfers to the pocketbooks over here. They get rich, work until you're dead. Okay? They get rich, you work until you're dead. That is how the system works. Now, you know these guys? The IRS. I wish we could come up with another acronym for them, but, you know, IRS. we could probably call them something else. So the IRS loves creators, right? The IRS loves creators. Why? They don't get many tax breaks. You only get a certain number of write-offs when you're a contributor. Why? Why? Does anybody have an idea as to why you don't get as many tax breaks? I love it. Noel's like, I have a 4-letter acronym. Yeah, I'm sure you do. So why do you think contributors, as a W-2 employee, you don't get as many tax write-offs? I'm curious in the chat. Yeah. So the reason why is you as a contributor, you're not moving as much money in the U.S. economy because you're not creating. You're not moving as much money. The IRS benefits and gives the mass tax benefits to people who move the most money. If you think about it for a minute, real estate. Think about a real estate transaction. I don't care if you're buying a single family home or you're buying a big commercial property. That transaction moves a lot of money. You have a lot of people in that transaction. Think about it. You buy a house, you have realtors in it, you have lenders in it, you have title, you have escrow, you have all these people in this process of buying a home. You're moving a lot of money in a real estate transaction. You're creating a business. right? You go out and create a business, right? You have employees, you have payroll, you have all these things, product and services that you're creating. You're creating all this stuff. You're moving an enormous amount of money. So the IRS is going to give you the most amount of tax benefits because of that. The reason why is because the IRS eventually is going to get theirs. The chime in came into the chat. I loved it. IRS equals theirs. The IRS is going to get theirs. Okay, but they love the creators. Why? Because the creators are going to launch, put as much money and movement into the economy. They're going to grow the amount of wealth. Eventually, the IRS is going to get theirs. But what they're going to do in the meantime until you get there is they're going to give you the most amount of tax breaks to allow you to get to as high as you can go. And eventually, they're going to get a bigger piece of that pie. Does that make sense? Because they want the bigger piece of the pie. So they want to benefit you to get there. You're not creating a lot here. You're just consuming. You got a job, you're doing well, great, but you're not creating as much, so therefore your tax write-offs are minimal. You got your basics, and that's it. But here, if you're a creator, real estate, you name it, businesses, entrepreneurs, anything like that, you're moving a ton of money in the economy. So because of that, the IRS loves you, and they're going to give you the most tax benefits. And that's how the entire game works. So if you're asking yourself, how do you get wealthy? You got to be a creator. You have to be a creator. You cannot sit here and collect a W-2 for the rest of your life. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But then don't get mad. Right? Don't get mad when these people are getting rich and they're getting all the tax breaks. Because you have to understand why it's happening. It's not because some fugazi. It's because the IRS is saying you don't move enough money. So because you move money over here, we love you, you get a lot of tax breaks. Because you're creating, think about it, you're creating jobs, opportunities, you're moving money, products, services, you're doing all this stuff, enormous amount of risk too. Because of the risk, right? All of that combined, they're going to limit it here, they're going to benefit here. That's the game of money. And once you understand that, then you'll understand the bigger picture of OPM, other people's money. Other people's money. Because once again, what do creators know? I need to move money in order to do well. So all I need to do is invest in things or create businesses. Invest in things or create businesses. This is why you may have heard the Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrants, right? Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrants. Have you guys have seen that before? E, S, B, and I. Employee, solopreneur, like self-employed. Business owner, investor. Employee, self-employed. Business owner, investor. Okay? About 90% of the population sits here. Then you have about 5% here, and then 5% make up this. Okay? If you want financial freedom, if you want the wealth and the financial freedom and everything that you're dreaming and praying of, you got to get there. It's the only way it works. You have to create a business that's working while you're asleep, okay? Or you need to be an investor, real estate, other things that we're talking about today. Does this make sense? Give a 1 in the chat if this makes sense. And don't get mad. I'm just saying, you have to understand, I mean, it's just not a matter of, there's nothing wrong with a W-2 employee. So don't get that wrong. I'm just trying to show you, what depends on what you want. You want financial freedom and wealth? Great. You got to be a business owner. You have to be an investor. Nothing wrong with here. Vast majority sit there because they like the consistency of the paycheck. But then don't get mad. That's all I'm saying. You have to understand how the money game works. And once you get there, it's awesome. Okay? So keep moving. How do you create wealth in real estate? How do you create wealth in real estate? Very simply, you take an asset, real estate asset. You're going to borrow against it, okay, with OPM, other people's money, combination of banks. People you may know, people you may not know. Private lender, seller financing, all these other creative options too, but OPM, that's other people's money. Taking an asset, you're borrowing good debt against it, you're allowing it to cash flow, you're also allowing it to appreciate. You get the appreciation with the cash flow, that's how you get rich. And that is the game of real estate. Take an asset, you borrow good debt against it that's fixed rate, you allow it to cash flow and appreciate, and then you rinse and repeat. You rinse and repeat. And that is the game of creating wealth in real estate. Okay. So you chimed in earlier. I know you said finding deals and all that other stuff, only about 11% of you said finding deals was a big issue. So we're going to touch on it briefly, and then I'm going to get into analyzing and then funding and financing, okay? Analyzing and funding and financing. So finding deals. There's two ways to get deals. You have on-market deals and you have off-market deals. You may be saying to yourself, oh, this is obvious. Yes, it is. But there's a science to this, okay? If you were to take 100 deals, let's do this. If you were to take 100 deals, okay, 100 properties, what you need to understand is that 40% are going to be, this is commercial real estate, mind you. This is not residential, so I'm talking a 5-unit property or more. 5-unit property or more. 40% of them, or 40 of those 100, are going to be showing up on the websites. Crexy.com, LoopNet, any of those websites that you see online, only 40 of those 100 are going to show up there. The real deals are right here, off market. You're like, well, yeah, Justin, that's obvious. We know that too, which is why the best deals are off market, but how do I get to them? How do I find them? Beautiful. I'm glad you asked. So how do you find these off-market deals? Okay, you have to leverage the on to get to the off. Leverage the on to get to the off. What do I mean by that? No different than we teach a lot of our mentees in our programs and everything we do. You go online, Crexy.com, LoopNet, any of these websites. Okay, pick a market that you're interested in or you live in or you think that's a good market. You're going to identify 3 brokers in that market, 3 separate ones, 3 separate properties. Okay, deals may not make sense. I don't care. Okay, you're going to underwrite them, then you're going to call them and you're going to make appointments to view those properties. You're going to go tour those properties and you're going to shake hands eyeball to eyeball and you're going to give them a business card, and after touring it, now you're building a relationship. Because then you're going to say, Mr. Broker, leverage the on-market brokers, get to the off-market inventory. Mr. Broker, thank you so much for your time. Look, I analyzed the deal. I know you're asking $2 million. It's probably worth it, at least based on our analysis, $1.5 million. This one's probably not going to work out. Too much of a delta between us and the seller, right? Yeah, you're probably right. Great. But look, we're buyers in the market. So what I need, do you have any other deals that may be coming up? Anything you can show us? Maybe we get a first look on some things that you may have coming to the table. You do that routinely in a market with a few brokers and a few properties, you'll start to get access to this stuff. But you got to get belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball, business card, who are you, how's it going? There's got to be a little bit of rapport built. That is how you get access to the stuff that actually pencils. So if you're online looking at these deals and your response is, oh, I can't find deals that pencil, exactly, I know that, because you're not getting here. This is not happening because you're not leveraging the process correctly. This is no different than how we started and got our first deal out of state in Kansas City, Missouri, right? Market we weren't into, so I went into that market, understood it, found 3 brokers, 3 properties, set up tours for them, flew out there, met the brokers and the properties and everything in there. None of those deals made sense that were on market, so I said, hey, Mr. Broker, look, these ones aren't probably making sense, but we're buyers. We're going to buy here in this market. You have deals that may be coming up that you can share with us. Boom. That's how we got our first 2 deals, 27 unit, a 31 unit in Kansas City, Missouri. So I'm teaching you what I've already done, okay? Does that make sense? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Awesome. Beautiful. Yeah. There's a lot of nuance into that we teach and help people with, and there's a lot of maybe some lingo, right? Glossary and lingo stuff that you need to know when you're talking to these brokers and how to actually get the reactions, get them to call you back. Because there is a science to this. And more importantly, if there's any gurus out there online, trying to teach you to go after deals, and if you haven't done one, they're trying to teach you to go after a 50+ unit deal. Because I'm sure you hear this, go big, start, go big. No. If you've never done it before, you have no chance and you know what to execute that. 0. You're basically peeing into the wind. You might as well walk outside and pee into the wind because that's what's going to happen. It's all coming back at you. So you have to understand you can't play in this space when you're brand new. You start with somewhere between 8 to a 20 unit deal. The brokers are more mom and pop. They'll actually call you back. You can execute on it from a capital side of it, which I'm going to show you here in just a minute. And you can actually get this done. And this is how we get people from 0 to hero in their first 90 days. Okay? Does that make sense? Beautiful. Let's keep going. So analyzing a deal. You're analyzing a deal. Once again, it does not matter whether it's a 2-unit property or a 100-unit property, it's going to follow the exact same math, right? From a lump sum perspective, there's obviously a lot of detail behind this. From a lump sum perspective, this is how you analyze a deal. This is how you analyze a deal, okay? And then I know some of you are having questions. There was one coming in about, the metrics. I'll get into the metrics in a minute as to what you look for, okay? The gross rents, right? How much is the property producing from a gross rent perspective? Then you're going to deduct what's called economic loss. Economic loss. This includes vacancy, physical, loss to lease, which is the difference between market rents and actual rents you're receiving, bad debt, people aren't paying their rent, okay? And then concessions, meaning you're having to pay people to move into your property, giving them concessions to move in. So that is economic loss, okay? So you gross rents, take out your economic loss. You may have a thing called other income in here, right? There could be sometimes called other income, right? Before you get to this number called effective gross income. And keep in mind, I'm not trying to get into the weeds, but I want you to understand it's called effective gross income, okay? And then you're going to reduce your expenses. So property taxes, insurance, repairs and maintenance, contract services like lawn care, if you have a pool, other things like that. You're going to reduce all your expenses, property management fees. So all of these things come out of the detail of the expenses, okay? All of it comes out of the detail of expenses. And then you get to this beautiful number called net operating income. Net operating income. And you've heard this term probably a bunch if you've been around any of the rental property game, but that's a very, very key number. It's a very, very key number because unlike a residential property that's valued on comparables, like if you go anything 1 to 4 units, typically 1 to 4 unit properties anywhere in the United States is valued on comparables, meaning my property in comparison to any of the other ones in the marketplace. And that's how I adjust value. When you get into multifamily, it's a business. It's a business. Remember back about 10 minutes ago where I was saying if you want to get super wealthy, you need to create businesses? A multifamily building is a business. It's a self-operating business, right? It has a revenue and it has a profit, right? It's got a revenue and it's got a profit. Revenue and profit. So when you're creating this business, this is going to be a huge dictator of the valuation of your business. So the higher this is, then your value goes up. The lower this is, the lower your value. It's a business. It's a financial game. It has nothing to do with how I feel today. It's does it work? What's the math? And what are the numbers? Does that make sense? Chime in a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. Awesome. So everybody's tracking. I love it. Okay. So that is how you analyze a deal from a 10,000 foot level. I'm going to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty in just a minute on this, okay, of how you can basically take down a 10, 20 unit deal with as little of $18,000 out of your pocket. Like, would that sound good? If you could find out how could I buy $1 million property or $1 million plus property, 10 units or more with $18,000 physical out of pocket, would that be of interest to you? Put 1 in the chat if that's interesting to you. I'm sure it will be. There should be lots of 1s. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. But this is how you break down financially and analyze a deal. Now we have deal analyzers that do all this for you. It's like a plug and play little model, very easy to use. And you've probably seen those before. Okay? Perfect. Raising money. This was one of the things everybody put up there, raising money. How do you raise money? Few ways. But this is the beauty of OPM, right? Other people's money. And I hear this all the time. Well, Justin, I don't have friends. I don't have family that have money that can do this, that would give me money and all. So you're creating all these self-limiting beliefs in your brain from day one. You got to stop that. Because I guarantee that if you have a deal that makes financial sense, you can raise the money. Because the deal will attract the money. The deal will attract the money. It always goes in this order. Okay? Deal, debt, equity. Deal, debt, equity. Go find a deal that makes financial sense. Remember what I said earlier. This is why it all links together. What do creators know? What do creators know? They know they need to move money to make wealth. So they just need a deal they can invest into to move money, and they need to like and trust you in order to do it. The money will find you. If you have a deal that makes sense, the money will find you, because creators, people with money to actually invest, they're going to move the money. So deal, debt, equity. Deal, debt, equity. OPM, that's kind of the other people's money. Friends, family, high net worth individuals. Okay, this is all the stuff that we teach on how to execute this on raising money, but this is where the money's coming from. Private lenders. Plenty of private lenders. Getting money from a private lender is super easy. But once again, you have to have a deal that makes sense in order to attract the private lender. Seller financing, right? Sellers can finance your deals. No different than single family, multifamily happens the same way. They can keep money in. They can also, in commercial real estate, you assume the loans. There is no thing called subject to. You may have heard those terms. I know Pace Morby talks about it quite a bit. Subject to. That's in residential real estate. Anything 1 to 4 unit properties, residential. Anything 5 units or more is assumable loans. Most commercial loans are assumable. You can just assume that debt and just take it. That way it stays on the property as is, and it's all legal. So we're doing that right now in a deal that we're talking about in Florida. We're going to assume the loan that's on it, okay? So seller financing through cash staying in and assuming the debt as well. And then family offices. Has anybody heard what a family office is? Does anybody know what this is? I'm actually super curious. Super curious. Nope. Negative. Okay. All right. So there are very wealthy families in the United States that have lots of money. And when they have lots of money, typically, let's say 9 figures or more, they have their own family office where they have like a little, capital person, people working in this family office that will invest, right? Move their money, invest that money into assets that they want to get involved. Businesses, real estate, crypto, stocks, bonds, 401k, you name it, right? They're basically their personal financial advisors, and they have a family office. So a piece of that family office will invest in real estate. Now, you'll never get to this level of family office money. We're not even there yet. I would love to get there, but we're not even there yet. I mean, that's a whole nother, I call that the big time, right? If you're getting the family office money, you've made it big. So these are the Grant Cardones of the world. These are the other folks that are already like, $1 billion type deals, $500 million type deals. They're getting into family office money, 500 million in assets, stuff like that. They're starting to play ball here. So you would be dealing 9 times out of 10, 1 through 3. So raising the money is going to come from one of these 3 aspects. But you have to lead with the deal, then the debt, then the equity. The deal, the debt, the equity. And that's how you raise the money. But you need to have a good pitch deck. You need to have a business that's out front. I don't know if any of you have created LLCs yet, but if you have one, great. You need a 1 to 3 page website in front of that. You need a logo, and you need a business card. You got to act as if. So no different than we teach our mentees. I say your tagline now is no longer, because like say someone was a tech person, or they were a consultant, or they were working for a company, right? A guy working for, I think Blackstone or whatever it was. Like, I said, well, great, you're a financial consultant. So if anybody asks you, you're at a barbecue, you're in line at Trader Joe's, I don't care where you're at, somebody asks you what you do for a living, you don't just say, I'm a financial analyst. You say, I'm a financial analyst and I buy and sell apartments around the country, and we do it with investors. That is your new tagline. Because what's going to happen when you do that is you're going to see the look on their face, and they're going to forget that you're a financial analyst for a minute, and they're going to say, hey, wait a minute, tell me about that real estate thing for a minute. And what that's going to do is begin to attract people in and get soft commitments. You're building rapport, and then all you need is a deal to send them, and then the money comes. But we teach all that. There's a science to it. You have to know how to do it and execute it right, so that way you can actually win. But that's raising the money. It's going to come from one of these 4 sources. You're going to play in this ball game, but you lead with deal, debt, and equity. Any questions on this specifically before I go on? Yeah, and then one question came in real quick back here on analyzing the deals. Okay? So in order for you to even consider a deal in moving forward with it, when you analyze it, you run these numbers and you get to the numbers, you're going to see something that's somewhere in the 14 to 20% range ARR, okay? And about a 6 to 10% cash on cash. So what do I mean by that? Right? What do I mean by that? Your money is going to get 14 to 20% a year on it. So you would underwrite a deal, and if it does not meet that, you wouldn't move forward. If it does not meet getting a 6 to 10% cash on cash, so what cash on cash means is I put $100 in, I'm getting 6 to 10% on that per year in actual cash out. This number includes appreciation of the property in addition to the cash of the property. So that's kind of the main metrics that you would focus on when you're analyzing a deal, and back into that. Does that answer that question? Awesome. Great. Went through the raising money part, closing the escrow. Now, I mentioned earlier this is actually one of the most important parts, but not a lot of people focus on it because they even maybe have not gotten there yet. But DD stands for due diligence, both financial and physical. Financial and physical due diligence on the property. Make sure you're not getting yourself into a money pit. Make sure that the financials are what the seller says they are. Making sure you inspect the property to where it's not going to blow up tomorrow. Right? Financial and physical due diligence. The legal side of it, you got to have some legal paperwork, especially if you have investors and all that stuff in the deal. How do you legally structure the deal and put it together? Then the money you're dealing with, right? Both the debt, the equity, and the loans and all that stuff, and managing that process as you're closing escrow. And then the renovations. Maybe you're going to improve the property and you got renovations and construction that's going to happen once you close escrow. How do you tee that up and manage that as you get ready to close? So closing the deal, there's important pieces to it. You got to learn stuff that we teach, but without diving into the weeds, we could be here 4 days going through this. So it's pretty intense, but it's amazing once you understand it, okay? When you understand it. Awesome. Great question came in. So Lauren came in with a question saying, if you put in $18K and you get 14 to 20% of your money each year, split in months or quarters. So it's paid quarterly typically, but keep in mind, you're missing the point I'm going to show you in just a second, Lauren. It's a lot more than 14 to 20% for you, because what I'm talking about is controlling the deal as the general partner. So I'm going to show you this in just a minute, because this will probably change your mind about that. Your return is going to be about 9,000%. Okay, your investors' returns are 14 to 20. But think about that for a minute. If I came to you and you were going to passively invest in our deal, so I said, hey, I have a deal right now. It's $25,000 minimum investment, 3 to 5 year hold on the deal. Your minimum, it's $25,000. Your money's going to get 14 to 20% a year, right? Projected returns on your money. So if you give me that, you're going to get 14 to 20% a year on your money. You'd also, if you went to the stock market, it's 8.2%. Maybe you get a little more in crypto, maybe you get okay in 401k, life insurance, IRA, other things you're getting probably less than that, annualized, okay? So if you come to us, your projected returns are 14 to 20%. So would that be of interest to you? And your response is probably gonna be, yeah, like, can you send me some information? That's where the pitch deck comes in. So if I'm attracting investors in, that's how that process would work. But you as the general partner who are controlling the deal, your returns are gonna be like, crazy. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. But closing the deal, those are the 4 sides of it. 9,000%. That's right. You're 9,000%. Watch this. This is why you came today. All right, managing the deal. So you have 2 options. You can self-manage it, which we did when we first got started. We self-managed all of our deals because we wanted to reduce the cost and get more income. Totally makes sense. On smaller deals, it may make sense for you to do that, especially if it's in your backyard and you can actually go and touch it and see it, right? You can manage that from afar a little bit better, okay? We recommend you third party, right? Hire a property manager. We teach how to do that correctly, and you hire them so they're running your properties and you're just collecting checks and you're not dealing with toilets and tenants every day, because that's the last thing you ultimately want to do if you want to scale your business, okay? As an investor, so managing the property. And that is step number 5 in those pillars that I was mentioning. Now for the fun part. Okay. So let's say that you bought a single family home versus a multifamily. So this is 1 unit. This is 10 unit property. 10-unit, $1 million multifamily, one property, call it a house for 500 grand. Okay? So you're going to have about 20% equity. So this is going to be your down payment. You're going to go get this. This is your loan. $500,000 property, 20% equity. Presume it's a rental property, by the way. This is your personal residence. Maybe you get in with 3 or 5 or 10%. Rental property, investor property, the bank's going to require probably 20% down, likely. Okay, $500,000, $100,000 down. That's the money out of pocket. $100,000 out of pocket, $400,000 loan. That's your single family. But you're out of pocket, 100 grand. Okay? Now, $1 million 10-unit property. You're going to have 30% equity. Okay? $700,000 loan. Now, the question becomes this 300 grand, this 30%. Okay? Where does this come from? How does that get structured? How do you leverage OPM to minimize your cash out of pocket to get you the greatest return so you can control a deal like that and have your returns be almost unlimited? Like, how do you do that? Because that's the game. Because I have a lot of people come to me and say, well, we own like 10 single family homes. I said, great. I said, show me your income statements on them and let's walk through those. So I said, you have 10 single properties in 10 different locations, 10 different roofs, 10 different water heaters, 10 different management, 10 different everything, 10 different lawns, 10 different problems. A tenant moves out, you go from 100% to 0% in terms of occupancy, and you're going to deal with all kinds of other issues that we're not even talking about. Or you can have one 10-unit building in one location with one roof, okay, maybe one boiler system, hot water system, one set of tenants in one location, repairs and maintenance, you have economies of scale, you're going to get better revenue, better tax benefits, better everything. It's just a question. Most people know they need to go here. They just don't know how to get started. They just don't know how to get started. And that's the stuff that we help with. Okay. Let me punch through this. Beautiful. So, for everybody that was wondering, how do you do this with $18,000 out of pocket? I'm going to give you an example of literally a deal that we did where I had 18 grand out of pocket. And I'm going to show you how to do this. And you can do this today. Trust me. It's not a matter of interest rates and all this other stuff. It's a matter of, hey, how do you structure it? Cameron, how do you structure it? So, 31-unit deal. Hey, this isn't even a 10-unit deal. 31-unit deal. Okay? $18,000 of my own money out of pocket. How did I do it? 31-unit deal. The price was $1,525,000. We had $400,000 in renovation, right? To improve the property, we were going to renovate the property. We had about $225,000 in closing costs, right? This includes legal, escrow, title, acquisition fees, all these other things that are built into that number. Not going to dive in at the moment. So we were all in at a $2.150 million. Okay? So think about this for a minute. I got control of a 31-unit property, all in at $2.15 million for $18,000 out of pocket. And watch how the returns work. Got a loan for 70%. This loan, I'm not kidding you, was easier to get than the $300,000 home loan. Why? What's the difference between single family, residential, and commercial? Commercial, they underwrite the property's financials. Did you know that? Anybody in here? When you underwrite, the properties itself is a business. So the bank is underwriting the property. The property is doing the job of getting the loan. You are not. You're almost irrelevant in the process. So getting this loan is super easy because the property is substantiated. The financials are substantiating that loan to pay the mortgage every month, right? You're not having to feed that. The property's feeding it. That's why it's easier to get that loan than a home loan, okay? It's income-based. You've probably heard these terms DCR, right? Or DSCR, debt coverage ratio, right? Without diving into crazies, debt coverage ratio, just remember that. So the property itself is doing that and substantiating that loan. Easier to get than a $300,000 house loan. Now, equity. We had to bring in $645,000. Now, you may be saying to yourself, oh my gosh, I don't have $645,000. I know you don't. Neither did I. However, 10% is what I bring in. I'm responsible as the general partner for 10% of the equity. Okay? 90% I raised from about 5 to 7 people. Some people I knew, some people I didn't. Right? But I had a deal that made sense. Remember, deal, debt, equity. I had a deal that made sense, a deal that gave investors 14 to 20% a year on their money, a deal that gave cash flow to investors where they could put their money in it and get a cash flow from it. So they're sitting there going, shoot, I have 25 grand, I have 50 grand. The deal makes sense. I like you. I trust you. The deal makes sense. Okay, great. Here's my money. You'd be shocked how easy it is to raise the money, but get the deal first. Get the deal first. So 10% comes from me, 90% from investors. Here's the beautiful part about it. Acquisition fees. So when you're a general partner putting these deals together, working your butt off, and you're putting all this together, you get an acquisition fee for all that hard work. So I got an acquisition fee for about 46 grand, 3% of the purchase price. Okay? So with that in mind, my out-of-pocket, about 18K. 64,000 went across into escrow, right? 46,000 literally at the close of escrow is like taking Peter to pay Paul. Came right back at it. So my out-of-pocket literally was 18K. Does that make sense? Time out one in the chat if that makes sense. If you have any questions on that as to how that would work. Awesome. Beautiful. Is it in the closing? So Ron had asked, is it in the closing? Yes. You know those closing costs I mentioned here? That number is in this. Right? So in that $225,000 is this acquisition fee. So it's all built into the total cost of the deal. Right? Great question. Great question. But that is how you take a deal. So then you're asking, okay, well, Justin, gosh, you have $18,000 out of pocket. Like, what are your returns? As a general partner, putting this deal together, running this deal, doing all this hard work, what do you get for that, Justin? Here's what you get. 31-unit deal. 24 months later after we bought that deal, we renovated it. Remember, we renovated the property. We improved the rents. We increased the value. The value of that property went from 1.525 to over $3.4 million. That's not typical. Normally, it would probably go up to maybe 2.6, 2.7, okay, maybe somewhere in there. But we were lucky on this one, a little lucky, but $3.4 million. So we were able to do 100% cash out because now we refinanced the property with new debt, pulled all of our money out. So now I have nothing in the deal. And all our investors got all their money back too. So investors got all their money back, I got all my money back, and now we're playing with house money. That was within 24 months of owning that property. Additionally, for managing that property as an asset manager, right? Manager managing the managers. So we hired a property management company, and then I managed them. I get a 1% fee every month on the revenue. Then for the deal, I got 40% of that deal. So 60% went to the investors. I get 40% of the deal for putting it together. So I bring in 10% of the money. Remember, brought in 10%. I get 40% of the deal for that. Okay. The investors get 60%. So that equated to about $2,000 a month in free cash flow for me. Over a 5-year window, that's 120 grand free cash flow. Additionally, when we sold the property, $470,000 in profit. Question just came in, 30% of the deal. I don't understand that question. Ask that one more time. Because we said, where did you see the 30%? I didn't understand. When you said 30%, you talking about 40% or 30%? Yeah, we'll keep going though. But my net profit on that was $470,000 plus all the cash flow I got from the deal. $590,000 for $18,000 out of pocket. Now, I don't know what planet that is not an okay return. But if you put in 18 grand and you get the 18 grand, keep in mind, you get the 18 grand back out in 24 months. You got most of it out in the beginning, right? But 590,000 on the 18,000, so 32x. And that is a literal deal that we did, okay? So that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Does anybody have questions on this? Because obviously we've got a little complicated, but not too bad. Tried to keep it simple. But that's how you would take down a deal with $18,000 of physical cash out of pocket. Now, you got to have 64 grand to go in, but you're getting 45 back out the day you close. So that money is not out for more than a week. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, 40%. So it depends. So deals are structured. So the question came in about deal structure and how much you give to investors and so forth. It changes. It could be 70-30. It could be 60-40. We have deals that are 50-50. It depends on the deal specifically. Okay, on the deal specifically. Awesome. Let me see where we're at here. Beautiful. Oops, cancel that. Awesome. So that kind of gets through the 5 different stages of buying an apartment building, how you can do it within a 90-day window. You have to know how to find, analyze, raise the money, close the escrows, and manage the deals. But how you can put something together like this. I'm going to open it up to a few questions right now. That way we can kind of get to that. If you guys have any interest, so you talked about raising money, right? So we have like pitch decks. So we have some of the best pitch decks. I mean, I think the best pitch deck you'll ever see. This is basically a flyer piece that's typically 10 to 30 pages that we have fully templated that everybody gets access to in any of the stuff that we give out, right? So these are incredible because this is going to help you raise money on all these deals like this if you ever wanted access to it. We have an 87-page ebook. This is not the entire thing, but we have an 87-page amazing detailed book that we give out that goes through everything, A to Z, on apartments. So if you have interest in that, chime in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat for any of this stuff if you have interest in any of this stuff, okay? And then lastly, we talked about 90 days. If you want to buy a property in the next 90 days, what do I need to do? Well, I have a literal, detailed, 12-week, step-by-step, week-by-week guide of an action plan specifically for what you need to do. Execute. Okay? What you need to do, execute. Would this be of interest for people? This is a 90-day guide. Okay, awesome. Beautiful. Yeah, I think it would be extremely useful. Do you feel like you understand all this stuff, or is it helpful to dive into, how do you get more information? How do you learn this stuff? Because remember, I said knowledge or money, right? Knowledge or money. You have to have one or the other or both of them to be able to execute. So on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody chime in the chat. Where do you feel you're at knowledge-wise, right? In terms of multifamily. Is it a 1? Is it a 10? Is it a 5? I'd be curious where you feel you're at right now. 4, 7, 8. Beautiful. Awesome. And then I'm curious too, I'm going to publish this in there right now. Who has taken other programs for multifamily real estate before? Yes or no, or yes, but they all stunk? You can chime in the chat. I love everybody. They're like, yeah, I've taken them, but they all stunk. Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. Not even though. Not even. 33, 33, 33. I like that. That's perfect. Awesome. Well, if you guys have interest, it's totally up to you. Obviously, I hope you learned a lot today. It's an incredible set of it. This is kind of an example of a lot of the people who've kind of come in and we've taught and done some things. Depends on kind of where you're at and where you want to go. It's been great to help a lot of folks, but I want to share with you kind of my big vision. Because I talked about earlier the BHAG. Okay, the BHAG, 10,000 units, $1 billion or more in real estate. How do we accomplish that? Well, you don't accomplish it alone. So our big vision through kind of the education company Multifamily School is to create a well-trained investor community throughout the country, right? That is trained well, does things well. We can partner with them on deals because we love partnerships. That's how you grow. So there'd be nothing better than knowing that you're well-trained, you know what you're doing, and you can execute, and then we can partner along with you. We have a fund that invests alongside a lot of our mentees and people that we're involved with, that are trained and in our programs and things that we do, because there's nothing better than that. We help provide the financing, the equity side, all of that combined through the community. But you have to be well-trained. You have to know what you're doing. Remember, it's knowledge or money. Knowledge or money. Okay? Knowledge or money. So, a couple things we're launching out today. Number one, I'm going to be drawing on a one-on-one mentorship with me. I'm going to give it out here shortly for free, 100% free. Okay, and I'm going to do that right now. I want people to know. I want to check. We're going to check to see if everybody's here. Hold on. Awesome. Okay. So Kevin, if you're moderating in there, I know you're in the chats. Perfect. Okay. And we'll have the people out there. So I need them to poll the names. So we see everybody that's in here, but you have to be here to get this. Okay, you have to be here to get this. Okay. So hold on, they're tallying it up. So give it maybe like 30 seconds and then they're gonna draw one. And I'll let you know. So just, the one-on-ones, the mentorships that I do with folks, it's a $60,000 mentorship, one-on-one. And I'm giving one away for free today, right now. I think it'd be incredible because there'd be nothing happier for me than to take one of you who on this thing right now and get you into your first deal in the next 90 days. And what do you think's going to happen with that? I mean, you'll have testimonials up to yazoo, and that's what we love. Remember, freely you give, freely you receive, right? You put all the good stuff out in the universe, it will find its way back. It always has, it always will. And we love to get back and help others because by doing that, we end up ultimately helping everybody. So it's really, really key. Awesome. Okay. You guys ready? Okay. Who is it? See it? I think he's in. Carlos Landano. Carlos Landano. You still in here, Carlos? Carlos is in here. Congratulations, man. You and I are working one-on-one to get you into your deal, man. So what we'll do is we'll reach out to you, obviously, after this is all done. But you're going to get the whole enchilada, like everything. Everything. And me, one-on-one with you every week until we're going to make this happen for you, okay? So super excited. So additionally, on that, another thing we're dropping today, if you have interest, is this. So normally this thing runs, just FYI, I'm going to put this offer up in here for you guys, just if you want it. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to do anything. But you're going to get an incredible opportunity for it today if you want it. So normally, this complete course that we have on our website is $1,997, okay? Normally it's $1,997. Today, you get it for $997, okay? Only on this thing right now today. Only on, in additional to that, for the first 5 people in the next few minutes that actually take up on this thing, the first 5 people, type in go into the chat. Type go into the chat so that we can link up your name with when you purchase and get out of it. The first 5 people are going to get a one-on-one 1-hour call with me. Strategy call. We're going to see where you're at, where you want to go, what you want to do, one-on-one with me in addition to the program. So when you check out, I think in the offer right now, it has the checkout code. So when you click that buy now button, when you get to the checkout page, you want to put in that coupon code. It's really key because when you go to the checkout page, it's going to say $1,997. You're not paying that. If you didn't use the code, you will pay that. Put in the code for today, $997. It's going to drop $1,000 off of it, and you're going to get it for $997. That complete course, just FYI, what's included in it? The 90-day action page guide, the step-by-step guide we talked about, okay? 90-day action guide. Everything you need to know how to execute this. A 10-lesson program that you're going to go through that's going to show you how to find, analyze, fund, close, manage the deals A to Z. The deal analyzers, right? You're going to get Excel deal analyzers from us, 2 of them. 2 of them. The basic one, which is great for anything 5 to 50 units, then a 50-unit plus one, which is the big dog one. That's like a $3,000 analyzer. You get all of them. 2 analyzers. Letters of intent. That's how you write offers. How do you locate the brokers? Remember we talked about that? How do you raise the capital? The starter kit. You're going to get that. My pitch deck. Remember this pitch deck thing we talked about? You're going to get a templated pitch deck. It's beautiful, guys. This is what we raised millions of dollars on. I raised $4.2 million on Instagram using this. So don't tell me you can't raise money. I'll show you. Okay? All of my systems and all the vendors. The apartment due diligence checklist. the 87-page ebook. Remember we talked about that ebook? You're going to get the 87-page ebook that's in there. Real estate tax hacks. How do you avoid taxes forever? How do you avoid taxes forever? We're going to go through that. That's the tax hacks part of it. Really, really, really key. So I see, yeah, we got your names in there for the go. Awesome. So you just want to then check out. We'll match your name up with it, okay? That way it's in there. And then you're going to get the glossary of terms. How do you know the lingo? What to say, how to say it, who do you say it to? All that broker stuff that you need to know. You get the glossary of terms, and then we're adding in some bonuses. 2 tickets to our live event that we're starting to throw called The Pivot. We have 2 of them a year. You're going to get access VIP tickets to those. More importantly, this is the big thing you're missing. The $997 that you're paying, if later on, at any point later on, in the next 12 months, you decide to join our mentorship program, we're going to credit that $1,000, that $997, to your mentorship. So you don't have to double pay. Right? So you come into it, we're going to credit that $997 that you've already paid to the mentorship if you decide to do that down the line. And then you're going to get a 12-month access to the Multifamily School exclusive investor chat, where people are chatting, sending deals back and forth around the country. You get access to that. Really, really key. Okay. So $20,000 plus in value you're getting for $997 today. Normally it's $1997, but if you use that code, if they're in the offer, you're going to get it. You're going to get it. So just use that code. Also, there is a 2-pay option. If you click on that Buy Now button, there's in the checkout, there's a 2-pay option. So what you'll want to do for that is you're going to want to use this code, 997 times 2, 997x2 for the 2-pay. So maybe you can't do the 997 all right now. Maybe you want to drop that down so you can 2-pay it, right? It's a little more more expensive, but when you break it down, it's actually cheap. But that way you can 2-pay it. So use that code. So when you do the checkout, it's going to show that. Okay, so you'll break that down your 2-pay, and you'll get a big discount on that as well. And that allows you to break it up a little bit better over a 2-pay versus maybe $997 all up front. Fully up to you. You get a discount if you do it at that. You pay a little bit more if you 2-pay, but it's still a huge, 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 huge benefit. Any questions on this program before I end for the day? Antonio mentioned about the mentorship. We can get in touch with you afterwards. We kind of customize things specific to you based on where you're at and where you want to go. But I can tell you this, it's a lot less expensive than you'll probably see anywhere in the industry. And there's a reason for that. Guys, there's a reason for that. This. It's not about selling courses and mentorships. It's not. My big vision is 10,000 units and $1 billion. And the only way it happens is by creating a massive community of well-trained investors like yourselves, where once you have the knowledge, we can bring money and our knowledge with you. We partner, we do big deals together. That's how we scale. That's how we grow. That's how everybody wins. You win, you make money, you own property. We win, we make money, we make everything. That's how it works. You have to create this. Okay, you have to create this. What we're trying to do is substantially different. Amazing community of well-trained investors that we can partner with down the road. That is how we get to where we're trying to go. So, correct, Noel, the 2-pay, yeah, that's the code, 997x2. That should do it. So when you click apply, it should work. Great question came in as we finish up. When you raise money in Instagram, it's a syndication. Yes, it is. So anytime you do public advertising to raise money, you have to do what's called a 506C, Reg D, filing with the SEC, the syndication. We teach all of that in any of the mentorships. We go A to Z on that. And actually, you get that in this program, the complete program. It goes through all that, everything. It's like the 10 lessons and everything there literally break that down. So the syndication side of it, understanding syndication, A to Z on apartments, finding, analyzing, raising money, structuring deals, everything you could possibly fathom you'll ever need to know about apartment real estate and buying apartments is in it, hands down. It's one of the best you'll ever see, in my professional opinion, and I've seen a lot of them. So you'll get all of it in there. Awesome. So Greg had asked, what includes the 997? It's all of this here. Okay, it's all of this here. 90-day action plan, 10-lesson program that you're going to get that's going to go A to Z on apartments, the syndication side, if that's interesting to you, funding, closing, managing, all of that. Deal analyzers, you get the deal analyzers. Letter of intent, the template to make offers on. locating brokers in the market, how to raise the capital, my pitch deck that we talked about, all of my systems and vendors and access to all the systems and vendors, our due diligence checklist, how do you close the escrow properly? Remember we talked about closing escrow, right? Physical as well as financial due diligence. That checklist is going to help you. The 87-page ebook, Real Estate Tax Hacks, How to Avoid Taxes Forever, the glossary of terms on what to say and how to say it, the bonuses and everything that are broken into it. Incredible value, guys. Normally it's $19.97. Today it's $9.97 on this webinar today with you. So, if you're having any issues on the checkout, it could be due to your credit card company. So just check that. Sometimes they, just for fraud protections, they'll have it on there. You may need to check a little notice with a text message or your credit card company. So we can take a look into that for you. But we can reach out to all of you if you're having issues. Just let us know, and we'll get in touch with you on that if you're interested in all this stuff. But it's incredible stuff, amazing value. I think you'll love it if it's something you're interested in. So, Antonio, you'd asked about the link. It's in there. It should have popped back up for you. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, that's it, everybody. I mean, this was incredible. I loved it. I hope you did too. You learned a lot, and we're here for you. That's what we're here to do in one way, shape, or form. And let's go buy some apartments. Go buy some apartments. We'll finish up with a couple last questions before we sign off here. I know the offer is back up there. Perfect. But yeah, click on that link before we sign off here and use that code 997. Apply that coupon code, and you'll get that super discount. And then we have the list of everybody's names that wanted to go first. So we'll match that up with your checkouts, and you're going to get a one-on-one with me for an hour. We're going to get on the phone and go through your strategy and what you're trying to do so we can get you to where you want to go. So, beautiful. Yes, we love the deals. We can look at, so when people come into the mentorships, for example, is we analyze and look at their deals alongside them. Correct. That's really, really critical. Great question. So you can bring deals to us all the time if you're part of the mentorship. Just courses in general, not as much because we need to dedicate our time, right? And we help focus on getting mentees from kind of where they're at, maybe 0 properties, maybe 5 properties, maybe 10. They want to scale. Wherever they want to go, we can get you there. But we help dedicate our time to that. So awesome, Noel. Thanks so much, and appreciate everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we'll chat soon. Bye.